So welcome everyone to our Gita Gyan level 2. This is our 7th week and we are discussing destiny, basically the law of karma. And this is our 3rd session on that, on understanding destiny. So let's just continue with our prayers to begin with. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Tadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravadi Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome again to our topic. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vikna Vinasha Narasimha Iti Namini Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayitim Girim Yatkripa Tamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Mishwaram. So we are discussing understanding destiny or karma, and we want to know its laws. So this is part 3 of our session. So we talked about karma, various aspects of karma. So I thought that I would do a little bit of recap. We can try to understand again the main points that we discussed previously. And then from then we can continue onwards with the additional topics. So basically karma, right? We have spoken how we can divide karma into 3 categories. Okay, so one is called the aprarabdha karma. It is sometimes also called sanchita karma. So what it means that this is all the baggage that we are carrying, all the karma that we have got from our many previous lifetimes, which we are carrying with us like a bag. That is our aprarabdha. That means it's not yet manifested yet. Prarabdha means manifest. Aprarabdha means not manifested. So it's not yet manifested. Nothing is there. So it's just all hidden, waiting. So that is sanchita or aprarabdha karma. So for many lifetimes we have collected this, And sometimes we are able to clear them, but actually the jivas, they do not know how to fully clear the karma. So it's always when they clear, they keep making new activities. So they keep collecting and collecting and collecting life after life after life, because they do not understand how this law of karma works. So that is sanchita or aprarabdha karma. And then we have what we call prarabdha karma. Prarabdha is what we have got now in this life. Whatever that is destined to happen from the moment we are conceived, right? From the moment of conception in the mother's womb, and then at the time of birth, the astrologers can determine our, astrological chart, right? Our natal chart. So like that, we have got a certain family, we have got a certain type of father, a certain type of mother, a certain type of family situation, a certain type of social economic situation. We are born in a particular country, we have a particular type of body, of a particular type of nature, particular type of mind frames, particular type of likes and dislikes, the things like that. So all this, we have lots and lots of storage, but of all the storage, some of that has been taken and it has been made to manifest in this life. So that is called prarabdha karma. So karma, actually, it affects many every aspect in our material life, actually. So if you go to astrologers, this is the chart they will draw for you, right? So like, they have 12, they divide the chart into 12 boxes. You can see one, this is like houses. The boxes are what they call houses. So there's first house, second house, third house, fourth house, like that, all the way up to 12th house, 12 houses. It's basically, and from this, in these 12 houses, we'll talk to you about, from these 12 houses, everything about a person's life can be known. Every sphere of activity in a person's life. Like, for example, the first house determines the Atma. That means the self. What is his nature? What kind of a nature? How evolved is this kind of personality? Second house, we'll talk about finances. What kind of finances that this person is bound to have? And it will also talk about elder brother. It will talk about the ability of speech. Then like that, third house, we'll talk about, third house is elder brother and siblings, like that, and courage. Fourth house, we'll talk about family, about the mother, about his own family, or his or her own family later on. So they will all, and also about house, property, vehicles, all this can be found from the fourth house. So like that, fifth house, we'll talk about memory, fortune, children, grandchildren, like that. Sixth house, we'll talk about enemies, obstacles. Seventh house, we'll talk about marriage. Eighth house, we'll talk about, sudden fortune or misfortune, accidents. Like that, ninth house, we'll talk about religiosity and secrets and sexuality. So 10th house, we'll talk about career. 11th house, we'll talk about fortune, I think. And 12th house, we'll talk about imprisonment. It'll talk about, like that, there are many aspects. So these are all the different aspects in a person's life. So all these things are already in a way, we have already inherited a certain set of type of what we call prarabdha karma, sphere of activities. So, and this is bound to happen in our lifetimes. And there will be some choice, there will be some, what you call, it's not, it's not that it has only one direction. There are several options which are available, which is in this prarabdha karma. And according to our choices, these 5 options or 6 options may be available, like that. So that means it's not that a person has unlimited choices. The moment he has taken birth, according to his set of karmas, he will have a certain set of choices. For example, he may only have, he may only have 10 choices, for example, in his path of life. Some people with better karma, they may have more choices, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they will achieve better success. So it's all according to it's all adjusted according already to the karma. So though we can change, though we can change these choices, right? We can make certain kind of adjustments, right? We can change our job, we can change we can make certain changes in our life, which is limited according to the sphere of karma. But one thing is fixed. No matter what we do in this life, right? Material things in this life, one thing is always fixed. We may change our job, we may change our relatives, family, wife, husband, we may change our house, we may change our car, we may change our country. Some people even change their sex. So like that, it may happen, right? But one thing we cannot change. And what is it that we cannot change? So it is described in the scriptures that at the moment of birth, at the moment of conception even, according to our karma, the amount of happiness and the amount of distress that we are going to experience in this life cannot be changed. That one is fixed already. So that means what is the stock of happiness? How much of happiness that we are going to experience in this life, and how much of distress or misery that we are going to experience in this life, that is fixed. But that does not mean that, if somebody is supposed to be happy, that doesn't mean that that person may be very wealthy or very great or very fortunate in everything. No, because what defines happiness and what defines misery in people has nothing really to do with material facilities. It has everything to do with the mind. So that's why, material facility is one thing. Somebody may be born very rich. They may have lots of wealth. They may have lots of power, fame, fortune, but still they commit suicide. Why? Because they are so miserable. Things did not turn well. So they find they are suffering internally. So like that, and we would say, if only I had these things, I wouldn't be so unhappy. So like that, it's a function of the mind. And that's why the scriptures say we have these three miseries. Adi, Devika, which is the miseries caused by the arrangement of karma, right? The types of facilities that we may have, natural disasters, diseases, and troubles, that's the obstacles. This is Adi Daivika. And then we have Adi Bhautika, miseries caused by other living entities. Other people may cause himsa towards us. We may have a bad boss, or we may get married to a very bad family, or who tortures you or something like that. And then, or we may have children who will create lots of mental trauma to us. So like that, we will have other living entities who will be traumatizing us. But none of these are as bad as Adi Atmika, the miseries caused by one's own mind. I have seen so many people who have everything, who sort of, basically they are so much more better off compared to so many other more horrible people. But they are not happy. They are intensely miserable. And at the same time, we have also seen so many other types of people who live very simply, who other people might consider to have a very poor class of living, but they are very happy. So anyway, so that's basically what I'm trying to say here. Happiness and distress is already fixed. The type of miserable things that's going to come, the type of mind the person is born with, the type of outlook the person is born with, that is already there. Can't change it. We may think that, oh, if I change my job, I'll be happier, right? We may avoid certain types of misery which comes from this particular job, but it simply means that the type of happiness that we are destined, or the type of misery that we are destined to go through, it will come in a different way, in some other form. All right. So, and that's why wise people say, if at all one has to suffer, the easiest suffering to bear is the suffering due to lack of facilities or lack of money. That's the lowest, that's the easiest suffering to bear, because anything else worse than facilities and money is health. Better to lose facility and money than to lose health. And to lose health is even better compared to lose loved ones, isn't it? So like that, there are different levels of situations. So we should always think and try to be grateful. So that is prarabdha karma, what is bound. So then you may say, if happiness and distress cannot be changed, then does that mean that we have no free will? Oh yes, we do have free will. There are some things that we can change, but what can we actually change? So that we will discuss later on, right? So here I'm just putting it into perspective first. So aprarabdha karma, prarabdha karma, and then in prarabdha karma, remember also, we talked about the different levels of prarabdha karma. What we are facing at the moment in this life, not everything, we already got this astrology already set already. But not everything the astrologer will tell at the time of birth will straight away manifest, isn't it? It will come in the right period. You know, they have dasha. They will tell you, oh, during Venus dasha in 20 years' time, this will happen to you. Or during Sunny dasha in 30 years' time, this will happen to you. So like that, not everything is all ready, but it's not yet going to come. So that's why this prarabdha karma can be divided into kutam. That means in the form of it's already it's hidden, but it's ready to come, right? Willing. So we look at it this way. It's why do some thoughts suddenly come to our mind? Why do some ideas suddenly manifest in our mind? Or why do certain kind of feelings suddenly manifest in our mind? So this is all called kutam. It comes due to the previous karma. Accordingly, we are getting these types of impressions, ideas, thoughts. So it's just floating in the mind only. It suddenly appears one day. It will come in our heart. That is kutam. So wherefore does it come? How did suddenly Newton able to think about the apple dropping from the gravity from the tree and think about gravity? How did Archimedes suddenly get the idea for Eureka, the principle of displacement of volume? So how did so like that? You know, there are so many different ideas one may get. So it's all already there, just floating about according to our karma. So that's called kutam. So if these ideas are floating, and then amongst 100 ideas which will be floating in our heart or in our mind, in our consciousness, if suddenly we are attracted, we think about 10 of them, okay, out of the 100 thoughts or ideas that come, 10 of them we take extra special interest. So that means we are now contemplating. So it's not just floating in the thought, it is now contemplation. So that contemplation is called bijam or seed. Now the thoughts which were just floating, suddenly as we think about it more and more, they form the seed of action. It's not yet action yet, but we are thinking about it. So therefore the seed already formed in our consciousness, in our mind. So that's called bijam. So karma in the form of kutam, karma in the form of bijam, not yet manifest, but it's going to come in this lifetime. So therefore, bijam. And if we further think about it, as we are thinking further and further, as we are thinking, then desire crops up and willingness to act on the idea starts to develop in our heart. So, and then at that time, we put our effort, we do the activity. So then it becomes phalan. Just like, suddenly we may develop a dislike of some person. Suddenly, right? We may just meet for the first time and we may suddenly feel the dislike. Okay, we ignore it. But if we don't ignore that and we think about it, we go back and we think about it. Oh, yeah, that person is like that. Oh, every day we think about it. So then it becomes bijam. And then as we think about it, our attitude forms around that idea. So that attitude will lead us towards certain activity. So the next time we meet that person, we may act in a certain way which may not be so nice, right? So that is already phalan, fruit. It's already bearing fruit. Okay, so like that. So in the same way, we may perform some good activity or any kind of activity, but not necessarily the reactions will come straight away. So it will go into our baggage or storage, and then in the right time, in the right situation, it will bear fruit for the actions that we perform. Okay, so that is prarabdha karma, kutam, bijam, phalan. So then we cannot do anything about our baggage, our prarabdha karma. So prarabdha karma, to some extent we can control. So later we will talk about it. And then there's the third type of karma, which is what we call Kriyama Karma. Kriyama Karma. Kriyama Karma means this is the karma which we are performing now. That means new activities. Prarabdha is reaction to our previous activities which we are experiencing now. Okay, I'll repeat that again. Prarabdha is the reaction of our previous activities which we are experiencing in this life. For example, if I've got a certain type of disease suddenly, so then I can know, oh, okay, this is the phalan of the prarabdha karma which I am experiencing due to my previous sinful activities. So like this, any type of suffering or misery that we experience in our life, we have to understand that it is actually the phalan, the fruit of our previous sinful activities. In some form, it is now manifest in our life. And if at all we are having any type of happiness or pleasure or facilities or good things, in the same way, we also have to understand it is the fruit, the phalan, which we are receiving now due to our previous good activities. So in this way, we are basically eating the fruit of our own activities from our past. So this is basically karma. And that's the reason people suffer or enjoy in this life according to their previous results of their activities. So that would explain why good things happen to bad people, or why bad things happen to good people, right? Or a mixture of both. So all this happens because not due to this life alone, it is due to our previous lives. So it's coming, we are experiencing it. So then comes Kriyama Karma. Now this Kriyama Karma is very important for us. These other two karmas are not so important because we can't do too much about them. Especially, we can do something later. I'll tell you what we can do. But in this life, we can't really see the effect too much. But what we can do is the Kriyama Karma. Kriyama Karma alone, we can control. The other karma, we can't. So what is Kriyama Karma? Kriyama Karma is the action which we perform in this life. Okay, I've got this facility. I've got this type of body. I've got this type of intelligence. I've got this type of society. What am I going to do about it? What do I do with all these things? So that is Kriyama Karma. What we choose to do. Right? Like, if someone has a sword or someone has an arrow, like in this picture, due to his past life, he's got the body of an archer, he's got the training of an archer, the inclination, the skill, the drive. So all of these things are prarabdha karma. And he has the arrows with him also. But now, what does he do with those arrows? Does he use those arrows to shoot criminals and to save the pious people? Or does he use these arrows to shoot the pious people and to steal from them? So that is the choice. So either we can use our body, we can use our mind, we can use our intelligence, we can use our whatever facility that we have, our time, our life. How do we choose to use them? We can either choose to act piously or we can choose to act sinfully. So according to these acts, we will collect more karma. So if we perform pious activities, then we get pious karma, punya karma. If we perform sinful activities, then we start collecting sinful karma, papa, sin. So this is where we actually have a choice. Agami. Agami means free will. We have the choice. Never mind if I am suffering. Never mind if I am poor. Never mind if I don't have to. I don't have these things, whatever that I want. But I will do the right thing, right? So that kind of concept, that kind of thought. So we have the right, we have the choice to do that. But not everybody will make that choice. Why? Because mainly of ignorance. They do not know. They do not know. So vidya means knowledge. Vidya is knowledge. So due to lack of knowledge, they do not know what actions to take, whether to do this or whether to do that, whether to turn left or whether to turn right. So that's what Arjuna was feeling. You know, in the battle of Kurukshetra, Arjuna didn't know, should I fight or should I not fight? Oh Krishna, I'm now confused. I know that I should fight, but I cannot fight. I don't know what to do. So in such situations, one need to consult scripture, consult guru, consult sadhu. So we have sadhu, shastra, guru. So the guru will understand the shastra and he will tell you what is in the shastra only. Then there is also shastra. Shastra, scripture, will tell us what is right and what is wrong. And then there is also sadhu. Sadhu means those devotees, those pure devotees who have dedicated their lives to spirituality. They will be also able to tell us what to do. They may not be guru, but they can give advice. So like that, and the most important of this is shastra, because it all has to be based on scripture. One cannot manufacture his own rules, because it doesn't matter what one thinks. One can say whatever they want, but ultimately karma is God's law. So this law of karma is God's law. So if we want to know how to control karma, that means we need to know God's law and follow accordingly. And that we can find from scripture, shastra. So therefore, with knowledge, we can direct our free will. We will have the knowledge to know what is right and what is not right. And then we will be also able to cultivate our willingness and determination to do the right thing. We will be able to perform the right actions. So that's agami. Agami means free will. So with free will, with knowledge, we can perform the proper Kriyama Karma. Okay, so like this. Now, at the same time, right? We have different desires. This kutam, bijam, and all that continuously comes to our heart. So our impressions, we have impressions we form. So this is called vasana, right? So vasana is impressions which we have, and we have likes and dislikes in this life. We all say we like this, we don't like that, we like this, we don't like that, we like this person, we don't like that person. So therefore, this is called icha and dvesha, like and aversion. Why is it we like this and don't like something? Why is it one person likes spicy food, another person doesn't like spicy food? Why is it one person likes sweets, another person doesn't like sweets? In sweets also, some people will say they like sweets, but then they only like certain type of sweets, but not every type of sweets. And why is it some people like certain types of action and certain types they don't like to do? Some people like to do maths, some people don't like to do, some people like to sing, some people like to cook. So like that, there are different likes and dislikes. So all of these are also coming from our previous karma. We had such desires, we had such impressions, and we had such desires, and we are simply carrying that with us, with our subtle body, into our next life, into our next body. So actually, life after life after life, the soul, the Atma, is covered by the subtle body, right? The subtle body is made out of the mind, intelligence, and the ego. These three elements track the soul inside, and it carries it from one body to another body. So because the mind, intelligence, and the ego is carrying the soul from one body to another body, the same impressions, the likes and the dislikes, they are all brought with us, life after life. And it may change according to our life after life, the situation. So this is what we have with us due to our past. So, and like this, it goes on and on and on, life after life after life. So if one person performs pious activity due to his good fortune to have good knowledge, so with vidya or knowledge, and he uses his knowledge in such a way, he performs good activities, punya karma, and he gets, because of his punya karma, he gets to enjoy. He enjoys in his next life, he gets a good body, he gets a very nice facility, he's born in wealthy families or in intellectual families or with good health or with good fame, becomes very popular. So all these things comes easily for them because they have had good punya karma in their past. But at the same time, they may also have performed some sinful activities. So together with that, they also need to experience the result of their sinful activities. So they may have a good family, but suddenly somebody may die, and then they are at a loss. And then they may have a good wealth, and then later on, suddenly all the wealth is stolen away from them. So like that, it may happen. So this is basically the play of our punya and our papa, our good activities and our sinful activities. It just goes on and on and on. And in this way, we take birth after birth after birth after birth. So is there a way to break free from repeated birth and death? Because even if we perform punya karma, we may do, what are the punya karma that we can perform? Punya karma, remember I mentioned in the previous session, pious activities. Pious activities all come from the 4 pillars of religiosity. Remember the 4 pillars of religiosity: Satyam, Saucham, Daya, and Tapa. Satyam means truthfulness, Saucham means cleanliness, Daya means mercy and compassion, and Tapa means austerities, sacrifice. So these are the pillars from which all other qualities or good qualities spring forth. So therefore, if one dedicates one's life towards Satyam, Saucham, Daya, and Tapa, then one generates punya karma. And in this way, one may enjoy very nicely in their next life. They may even become devatas if their karma is if the punya karma which they perform is according to scripture, and then they will actually enjoy in heaven. They go to heaven, enjoy in heavenly bodies. But after they enjoy, they have to again come down to earth as human beings. And again, they have to take birth. So, and when they suffer, they also have to suffer in hell, or they have to take birth in lower life forms. And then ultimately they get the human body again. So like this is going on and on and on. So how to break free? So Krishna says, before that Arjuna will say, "O descendant of Vrishni." So if in order for us to know, in order for us to learn how to break free, we need to know what is the root cause. We want to know what's the root cause of our problem. Why? Why are we continuously taking birth and death? So therefore, Arjuna asks this intelligent question to Krishna in chapter 3. O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly? So here Arjuna is not even talking about breaking free. He's not even talking about breaking free from the birth and death. He is at least trying to avoid sinful activities. So then he asks Krishna, what is causing a person to be sinful? Right? Even though he has knowledge that something is sinful, but we all know, we shouldn't think badly about people, but sometimes we do. We all know we shouldn't do a certain action, but sometimes we do. So Arjuna will ask, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force, as if we are rushing towards it? So sometimes some people go through these things. Some people know it's wrong for me to indulge in this kind of sinful activities. What are the types of sinful activities that I also described in the previous session, which is basically against the 4 pillars of religion? Satyam. What destroys Satyam? Gambling, untruthfulness, that destroys Satyam. Saucham, cleanliness, is destroyed by illicit sexual activity. So they know it's not right, but still they do it. And ahim and daya, mercy, that is destroyed by willful himsa or harm caused to other entities, such as to cause harmful words to others, to perform harmful actions to others, and not only humans, to also animals, to eat meat and all that. That is harmful. So unwillingly, they know it's not right, but still they do it. So why? And like that, the 4th type of problem is intoxication, which destroys tapasya or sacrifice, such as drinking, alcohol addiction, any types of addiction. So all of these things, why are we doing them? So therefore, Krishna gives this very nice statement. Kama esha krodha esha rajoguna samudbhavaha mahashano mahapapma vidhi enam iha vairinam. So Krishna says, oops, what happened? So Krishna says, right, the translation is, there is only one main reason why people do this. People do this because of Kama esha. What is Kama esha? Kama means, esha means only because of Kama. Kama is lust, desire. It is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion. So the mode of passion, we've already heard about the 3 modes, the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, the mode of ignorance, right? So when we come in contact with the mode of passion, when we do passionate things, when we eat passionate food, when we act passionately, so all these things will drive our desire more and more. And when this desire is not satisfied, it will turn into krodha, anger. So that's the problem. Why we become angry? If we analyze deeply, we become angry because we have certain expectations. Expectations of how we want people to treat us, how we want people to talk to us or act with us, or what we wanted. So basically it's what we want, whether it's our, it is basically what we want. So when that want is not satisfied, then one becomes angry, krodha. And Krishna says, so that is our Mahasano Mahapapma, the sinful, all-powerful, devouring enemy of this world. So that is this karma, lust. So that's our problem. So then Krishna will say in the next verse, 338, he will say, just like as fire is covered by smoke, sometimes we see, in a burning area, there may be fire still burning, but sometimes we cannot see the fire because it's covered by ash and smoke, So how fire sometimes is covered by smoke, and how sometimes a mirror is covered by dust, and how an embryo is covered by the womb, in the same way, the living entity is similarly covered by different degrees of this lust. So some people are very lusty. It's obvious to see, very greedy, But some people's lust and greed is very subtle. It's not easy to see. It's hidden. It only comes out in certain situations, and when it comes out, it is very strong. So like that, there are different grades of lust which is covered in the human, and it is also there in other living entities. Like for example, in animals. So it is said, like in animals and plant life, the lust is deeply covered. The consciousness of and the lust is covered deep inside. It's obviously bad to everybody, but it's there. Like in a plant, the consciousness of the plant is very much covered, like as if an embryo in a womb. One cannot see the embryo. So the consciousness in a plant is very difficult to see. The lust in a plant is also very difficult to see because it's covered. In an animal, it's more easier to see. And in human beings, it is very easy to see. But in different levels of human beings also, we got different degrees of it. So accordingly, some people are more obvious, some people are not. So therefore, Krishna tells Arjuna, "O best of Bharatas, in the very beginning, curb this great symbol of sin, lust." So what does he mean by the very beginning? So that's why in previous times, children are taught to control their senses. So begin at the very beginning, at childhood itself. So in those days, they have Gurukul system, they have ashram system, where the child, after the child is 5 years old, he's not kept at home. He's sent over to the Gurukul. That means he doesn't live with the child, with the parents anymore. He stays with the Gurukul, the teachers there, and they will train the child and they will teach the child how to control his senses. Because if they stay with the parents, usually it's very difficult. The parents, nowadays in Kali Yuga, in the name of doing good for the child, the parents spoil the child by giving them lots of sense gratification. Whatever the child wants, whatever the child thinks it likes to enjoy, they just give it. So the child becomes very used to receiving sense gratification. He doesn't know austerity. They don't know sacrifice, all these things, Of course, children born to poverty and hardship, they naturally go through this training, whether they like it or not. But generally, in those days, those who are born in a better situation, they are given over to the Gurukul where they are trained in this way. They learn to wake up early from young itself. They learn to discipline, basically discipline. So all these things is taught. What is the purpose of this discipline and all? It's basically to teach them to control their lust, their desires. With higher knowledge, with higher aptitude, then they are able to. So that's something which is slowly losing, and the newer and newer generation, it's going and going and going, and it's hardly there these days. Unfortunate, because of the environment, because of our systems that we have, and the situations that we are with. So, but nevertheless, with knowledge, we can learn to reintroduce all these things. So, therefore, Krishna says, from the very beginning, learn to curb this great symbol of lust. So, an example of a personality who never controlled his lust. Ravana, Ravana was a very great personality. He was. He was very learned in the Vedas. He knew Vedas. He knew knowledge. So he had Vidya actually. So he knew many, many, many things. The 4 Vedas he could remember, memorize, everything there. And he was also very, very powerful. He was well endowed, very beautiful, very handsome, very good looking, very learned, very respected, very wealthy, everything he had. But he did not have proper training due to his lust. So he was Rakshasa. And as a Rakshasa, he was trained to enjoy, to actually grab whatever he wants. So this is the nature of Ravana. His main fall down is lust. He had everything, but he didn't take good advice. Two reasons why he fell down. He didn't take good advice, and he could not conquer his lust. So, so many people told him, he had so many wives, all the beautiful ladies in the world he will kidnap, and then he will keep in his kingdom, and he will enjoy them. And in this way, he wanted to kidnap Sita. Simply by hearing about Sita, the lust in his heart awakened to such an extent that he decided that I must get this Sita. The sister, Suparnaka, she will tell Ravana about Sita and how she was so beautiful and everything. Even though that this Ravana had hundreds and thousands of ladies kept in his kingdom, prisoner, but still he wanted this Sita simply by hearing. So he decided, and then when he wanted to go, he was advised against it. So many people advised him. No, but still he didn't care. He went and he kidnapped Sita. And then when the army of Rama came, and so many ill omens came in the sky, so many bad portents was discussed. So people advised him. Vibhishan told him, give back Sita. Your life and your kingdom and your greatness will all be preserved if only you give back Sita. No, he didn't want to. And then his wife also, Mandodari, his own wife, very chaste wife, very difficult for the wife to live in such a situation, having so many other ladies that she had to deal with. But still, she was a very chaste wife, and she was always meaning well for her husband, Ravana. And she also gently advised him, please give back Sita. You have so many other people to enjoy. So why do you care? Just, every death is coming for you. So please return Sita. No, he didn't want to. So like that, hundreds of people told him, gave him good advice for his own, even his own brother, Kumbhakarna, also told him at the, when he wanted to wake Kumbhakarna. So Kumbhakarna also said, oh, you have kidnapped Sita, you have signed your own death warrant. But still it's not too late, because that Ramachandra is all forgiving. If only you surrender to him, no matter what kind of offense you have done to Rama, Rama will forgive you. So there, but Ravana couldn't. He still, no, I will not give up Sita. So like that. So that's his problem, lust. So lust, the nature of lust is actually manifested as Ravana. When Rama was trying to kill Ravana, he was shooting arrows. Ravana had 10 heads, right? So he will shoot one arrow on one of the heads, and one of the heads will be torn away. But as soon as that one head is torn away, another head will come up. If you have seen the story, if you have seen the picture and all, you remember. One head is chopped off, another head pops up immediately. Another head is chopped off, another head pops up. So like that, Rama was shooting arrow one by one, but each of the heads were being cut, but they will come up again and again. So then he was Lord Rama. I'm not sure who told Lord Rama. So someone mentioned to Lord Rama, aim for the stomach, because that's where the Amrita, that's where the nectar of immortality is kept, in his stomach. So you aim for the stomach and shoot, and then he will be killed. So then Lord Ram finally shot the stomach. So in the same way, lust is like that. You know, if we want to, if we develop lust or desire, if we think by satisfying that desire, that desire will then be satisfied and it will not trouble me again, then we are actually in illusion, because that desire is like the 10 heads of Ravana. You know, it's described, lust is like fire. That's why Krishna says here, lust, you know, it burns. So it's actually like fire. You know, when fire is burning on fuel, right? So if fire is burning on fuel, if we say, I want to douse this fire, let me feed the fire more fuel so that the fire will get satisfied by my offering of fuel, and then it will go away. Is that sense? Is that logic? Do we satisfy fire by giving it more fuel? So the nature of fire is it will never be satisfied. You give fuel to fire, fire will only burn all the more brighter, and it will eventually destroy us. So that is the nature of lust. So just like the head, you know, if we want to satisfy lust and we think that by satisfying this lust, it will not disturb us again, that's not going to be the case. It will again pop up. The head will again pop up. And it will keep on popping up until we become addicted. And then the head becomes harder to satisfy. So it's like drug. You know, little bit we take and then we become addicted eventually. So then a habit once formed, it's very difficult to break. So that's the problem. So how to solve this problem? So the problem is, if we want to douse the fire, we don't give it fuel. We take away the fuel. So if we desire something, we tell ourselves no, because, you know, this is not good for me. So, and then we stick to it. So that is how we can conquer lust. Not by satisfying it, but by denying it. So, you know, modern psychologists will tell you, oh, then you will create frustration upon yourself. But the frustration, that is for people who are not able to control their mind. So that's why these things need to be trained. There is a specific program for training all this in our mind. From young, one learns, you know, the culture of sacrifice, the culture of discipline, the culture of control. So that's why in spiritual life, we take certain vows. We take vows such as we take vows to uphold the 4 pillars of Dharma. You know, Satyam, Saucham, and all that. So therefore, we take vows not to consume meat or fish or eggs, right? In this way, we control our senses. So there are so many other wonderful things to eat. So why do we have to do like this, right? So therefore, in this way, we can take some vows. And we take vows to uphold tapasya. You know, we say we will not take intoxication, we will not take drugs, we will not take all this. So in this way, by taking this kind of vows, we strengthen the mind. So this culture of austerity, of tapasya, you know, like fasting, all this strengthens the mind, strengthens the determination. You know, some people become very weak-willed. Why people cannot go, oh, I'm so weak, you know, my will, I cannot laugh. But actually, they can. So by doing these activities like fasting, like chanting, like, you know, forcing the mind to do things which it doesn't want to do, but prescribed things, not simply what we decide, but what is given by scripture. So in this way, we force our mind to do something, at least temporarily and continuously every day. So then we condition our mind, we tell the mind who is boss. Look here, mind, I am boss, not you. So the purpose of the mind is to give desire, but I am the boss. So therefore, I will decide whether this is to be taken or this is not to be taken. So to get that kind of ability, one needs to strengthen our mind. So how to do this, right? By mainly we can do chanting. So by chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra daily, a certain set. We take a vow. Okay, I will vow to chant 1 round of Maha Mantra daily, or I will vow to chant four rounds of Maha Mantra daily. So like that, we can take vows to chant 16 rounds of Maha Mantra daily. So like that, we can take vows, and we can take vow to fast on certain things like Ekadasi, on festival days, right? So by this way, we strengthen our mind, and we are able to push the lust away. Okay. Indriyani mano buddhir asya dishtanam uchyate etar vimohatyati esha jnanam avritya dehinam. By regulating the senses, right? Steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence. So this is what Krishna tells Arjuna. How can we control our mind? First, it begins by regulating the senses. We must regulate and it begins with the tongue. The hardest to control is the tongue. And if we control the tongue, everything else is automatically controlled. So that's the secret. So that's why we take certain vows, right? Like in Krishna Consciousness Society, we take vows not to eat meat, fish, eggs, onion, garlic, so like that. And in this way, it helps. And we also take the vow to eat prasadam. So in this way, that helps us to regulate our tongue. And when we control our tongue and our belly and our genitals, they are all in the straight line. They are all controlled automatically. And the mind is also, you will find it easier to control. So then Krishna says, steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence. So first you control your senses, and control your senses means try to engage. We cannot stop our senses. We cannot stop eating. We cannot stop tasting. We cannot stop looking. We cannot stop hearing. But what we can do is we can control the object of these senses. So instead of watching television, serials, and things like that, we can watch other things which are more spiritually beneficial. We can see the deities. We can see spiritual shows or whatever. Instead of hearing nonsensical music or all kinds of nonsensical things spoken, we can train our ears to listen to spiritual knowledge, spiritual topics, Ramayana, Mahabharata, like that. And instead of using our tongue to taste all kinds of other things, we can use our tongue to taste prasadam. And in this way, we can control our senses. And by doing that, steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence. So we can get vidya, knowledge, by hearing, by reading scripture, right? So in this way, by performing certain activities of regulation like chanting, and by hearing about spiritual topics, we are able to get knowledge, and by this knowledge, we can get the determination to steady the mind. And Krishna says, in this way, thus, by spiritual strength. So we need to cultivate spiritual strength. And where does this spiritual strength comes from? It comes from the grace of God. So by performing activities which are recommended by God in scripture, we get the grace of God. And by the grace of God, we get spiritual strength to overcome this enemy known as lust. Okay. So, my dear king, this is a statement from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is Sukadev Goswami speaking to Parikshit Maharaj in one of the topics. So, my dear King Parikshit, in the province of Yamaraj, there are hundreds and thousands of hellish planets. The impious people I have mentioned, and also those I have not mentioned, must all enter these various hellish planets according to the degree of their impiety. And then he continues, But those who are pious, however, enter other planetary systems, namely the planets of the demigods, right? And in this way, they enjoy up and down, unless the living entity is freed from the infection of the three gunas. He receives different types of bodies in which to enjoy or suffer. So therefore, with knowledge and with spiritual practice, we can control our Kriyama Karma. That means the activities which we will be performing in this life. So he continues, nevertheless, both the pious and impious again brought to earth after the result of their pious or impious acts are exhausted. So it's like for two accounts. Like last session I mentioned, it's like two accounts. You do good things, we get account A. We get lots of money in account A. We do bad things, we get lots of credit in account B. But both account A and account B must be settled. So for account A, we get to enjoy as long as the credits remain. As we enjoy, the credits diminish, and then finally they become zero, no more credits in the account A. So then we have to come back to earth. And in the same way, there's account B, which is the sinful account. So that also we have to suffer. As we suffer, the sinful account becomes less and less. So our suffering is to clear the sinful karma. So it becomes less and less and less. And then again, we have to come back to earth. So therefore, it goes on and on. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is, because it's going on from life after life after life. So, but with determination, which is born from spiritual strength, which is born from knowledge and also from sense regulation and spiritual practice, right? One must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment so that we can overcome lust. So it's like an axe. We cut down this tree. And then Krishna says, this is the secret for today, right? Then Krishna says, but that person, that one who is engaged in Buddhi Yukta. What is Buddhi Yukta? Buddhi Yukta means that action which is intelligent activity. One who is engaged in intelligent activity, he rids himself of both good and bad reactions even in this life. Now, why is that important? Why should we get rid of good reactions? We want to get rid of bad reactions, all right, that's fine. We don't want to suffer. But what about good reactions? Because the good reactions makes us also take birth in this life, in this material life. And the moment we take birth, then there is danger. Because, we will get so many things, we can be confused, we can desire, all kinds of things is there. So we want to end this cycle of birth and death, return back to the spiritual world. So what can stop that? One who performs intelligent activities. So what is this intelligent activity? It is not piety. It's not pious activities. It's not just charity. It's not just satyam, saucham, daya, and tapa. No, that one all is pious. It's necessary to keep us in the mode of goodness, but we need something more to cut this tree. And what is this intelligent activity? Therefore, Krishna says, therefore strive for yoga. That yoga can break this cycle of birth and death. So, but before we talk about yoga, there is also one more thing which can help us with our karma, right? Yoga alone can ultimately solve the problem. But some people, not everybody wants to do that yoga, right? What is this yoga? Yoga doesn't mean exercise. Yoga means, karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, or bhakti yoga. So that is what we mean by yoga. So, but before we talk about yoga, right, there is other things which we could also do. There is something called Pious Chitta. Pious Chitta means atonement. Okay, let's say there are some people who have performed some sinful activity. and they have somehow found out about it, they know about it, some person tells them, and then is there anything they can do to overcome it? They are not interested in spiritual activity. They don't want to perform yoga, they don't want to perform a spiritual life and all that, they don't want to. But can they try to overcome the reaction of the sinful activity which they did just now? Is there any other way? So that's called prayaschita. You know, this is why people go to see astrologers. They go to astrologers and then they tell them, oh, the astrologer will tell you, in your chart, you got Sani Dosham. So because you got Sani Dosham, you need to do this certain puja. And when you do this certain puja, then your Sani Dosham will be slightly removed. They will tell you it will be removed, but actually it won't be fully removed. It will be slightly adjusted for that particular situation. Now people will say, no, I cannot have child. So what is my problem? So they consult an astrologer, and the astrologer will say, okay, you do this pariharam, prayaschita. In Tamil, we say pariharam. In Sanskrit, it's prayaschita. You do this prayaschita, then, okay, your problem will be temporarily solved. So prayaschita is helpful to help to clear certain bad karma which we may be experiencing. But prayaschita is very specific. It cannot solve many things. It can only solve specific problem. Like for example, specifically, I cannot, let's say someone cannot have a child. So that's a specific problem. It doesn't solve our general issues of life and death, birth, disease, old age. It doesn't solve the Adi Atmika, Adi Bhautika and all that. But little bit it can adjust. But nevertheless, prayaschita doesn't ultimately solve the main problem of life. Why? Because, you know, Krishna already identified the main issue is lust, our desire. We need to know how to control our desire, and we need to know how to desire the right thing, not the wrong thing. What is this desiring the right thing? That we will talk about another time. That is where yoga comes in. So prayaschita is like the elephant bathing. The elephant will get dirty, and then it will go to the river, and then it will bathe very nicely. It will bathe for hours. But right after bathing, it will go and then it will throw sand all over its body again. So prayaschita is like that. So the person may have committed some sinful activity, and because of that, he is suffering. So then he goes to the astrologer, and the astrologer tells him, okay, do this pariharam, and then you will not suffer this reaction now. So they do it, but and they are successful, you know, provided that the priest is properly done and everything is properly done. So they may be successful. But because the root desire in their heart is still there, again they will perform that same sinful activity at a later time. And due to that sinful activity which they perform, again they will suffer the same thing only. So how long are they going to go on doing this prayaschita? And this is just one thing. There are many reactions that can happen due to one sinful activity. So therefore, prayaschita is not for the intelligent. The intelligent person will not be interested in prayaschita. They will be interested in once and for all solving the problem of life. Okay? Bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and become attached. Right? So that's what happens to most people. And then to help them, prayaschita is given. But ultimately, knowledge is more important because it will give them the ultimate solution. So prayaschita is like the cutting the grass. You go and cut grass. If you use the lawnmower to cut grass, what will happen? Eventually, the weeds will grow back again, eventually, right? So that's the problem. So how do we remove the weeds? The way to remove the weed is you pull them out from the root. You sit down and you pull them out from the root, or you take a chankul, you take a hoe and you dig the garden and you remove all the roots. So that is the only way we can remove the weeds of desire. So what is these weeds of desire? So these desires, remember, they come from in the form of bijam. These desires are there in our hearts. All kinds of desires are there. Some we can't think about, some we don't really think too much. Some we feel very strongly about, some we don't feel so strongly now, but at one point of time it will be there. We will think strongly about it. So this bijam, we think about it, we think, we start desiring it more and more, and then we start acting on it. Then we perform action. So accordingly, the action may be pious or it may be impious. For example, I have a desire to feed all the cows. So that is a desire which leads to pious action, right? So by feeding the cows, we have pious, we get pious action. And then someone will say, okay, I have a desire to feed, okay, not to feed, I have a desire to eat flesh, for example. So that desire will lead to sin, papa, sinful action. So accordingly, it may lead to either piety or sinful. Either way, we will experience the reaction of them. If it's good activity, we will enjoy. If it's bad activity, we will suffer. So that will be reaction, either in this life or in our next life or in our next lives. So this will lead to enjoyment and suffering, which is our prarabdha karma. Okay, in this way, we enjoy and we suffer. So, but not everything will manifest in this life. Some things will manifest in other lives. The seed will take a long time to grow, to come up with the fruit. Just like, we have different fruits which grow at different time. Mango tree will take many years before we get a fruit. Some other trees will you throw a weed, the weed will grow very quickly. So like that, some things will not become manifest. They will go into some actions will lead to our baggage, our prarabdha karma, our baggage of our karma. And what it will do, it will come back to us as tendencies and proclivities, feelings. So the seed of this action will come back in tendency and impressions like that, and it will feed back desires. It will come back to feed our desires. So new desires will crop up, new likes and dislikes will crop up in our heart. So it's being fed. It's being fed by our actions only. So and this is a loop. It goes on and goes on until finally it manifests. And in this way, we are enjoying and suffering. Now, as we enjoy and suffer, we perform new karma. The Kriyama Karma, I told you, the important karma, the Kriyama Karma, we will perform new actions. Okay, I'm suffering. Somebody has done this to me. Therefore, I will take revenge on that person. So when we do that, then we are performing new karma. We are taking revenge. We are already suffering. And then when we take vengeance, then that karma, that action creates new karma, which goes back into tendency and kutam and goes back into our desires. And again, the loop continues. It feeds back, feeds back, feeds back. So in this way, I put this color coding here to tell you about how the nature of karma is. So this prarabdha karma, it's this reaction, once the fruit, the fate which is in our life currently, that's very difficult to change. If somebody has a certain set of prarabdha karma already, it's very difficult, almost impossible to change. But there are ways to do it. We will talk about that next time. But it's very difficult. We are already born what? We already have a certain father and certain mother. We cannot change our father and our mother. We cannot change our family. So certain things are already there. These things The ones which are unmanifest are prarabdha, that we can control. We can possibly stop it with free will, agami, and also with some atonement. Okay. But the ones which we are matured, like for example, we've got certain disease, we've got certain reactions already, that is almost impossible to alter. So like that, some things can be changed, some things cannot be changed. So desire can be controlled. That's why in spiritual life, it's very, 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 very important to teach everyone to discipline, spiritual discipline, to learn to control our senses. That's why the scriptures gives us a lot of do's and don'ts. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, do that, do that, do that. So in this way, we become trained in controlling our mind to do what is right and not to do what is wrong. And all of this is due to ignorance. So the desire cycle keeps on going. So what is the fuel here? The fuel for our birth and death, our continuous birth and death, the fuel for that is nothing but our own desires only. And due to our ignorance, we are continuously fueling our desires and taking this loop. So therefore, you can understand whatever we are going through in this life or in every other life is not because of God's doing, it's because of our own doing. So, and we can stop it if we want to. How can we stop it? We can stop it if we have knowledge. So knowledge is the key. And with the key of knowledge, we will know what should be done, what should not be done, and we will know what practices that we can adopt in order to control these desires here. So that's ultimately the goal of religion. All religions ultimately is to dovetail our desires in the correct direction, to develop right desires. We cannot stop desires. You know, some religions will tell you we will want to stop it. It cannot be stopped. Like that's the plan of the Buddhist. The Buddhist, they want to completely become inert. They want to completely avoid all desires. And there are also some branches in Hinduism where they will also say, like, you know, the Brahmavadis, they want to merge into the Brahman. So those who want to merge into the Brahma Jyoti, they try to follow the Ashtanga Yoga, the Raja Yoga process of meditation and all that to artificially stop their desires. But it doesn't really ultimately work, because desires, the nature of the soul is to always enjoy. So desires will be there. So how to get the right desires? That is the key. So that is where bhakti comes in. That's where yoga comes in. So yoga is all about the art of controlling desires. Remember, there are two paths to yoga. One is the jnana path and one is the bhakti path. The jnana path tries to stop desires, make it go to zero. Whereas the bhakti path, it transforms the desire into spiritual desire, which is easier and which is higher, because that one will bring us ultimately back to God. So that is basically how it works. That's basically the main goal of religion. So this knowledge of what is right and what is wrong is very difficult to understand without the assistance of Shastra and Guru. So that's why it's very important for us to take to spiritual path to understand this. And that's why the Lord gives us all these scriptures and everything. Okay, so now it is 9:20. Actually, I thought I could finish it today, but looks like I have not finished. Quite a number of slides to go still. And some other topics related to karma I wanted to discuss as well. We wanted to speak about how to break free of this cycle. So we will speak about how to break free of the cycle in more detail in our next session. So I will extend this karma topic to one more session. We will have part 4, which we will discuss next time. Okay. So thank you very much with that. Let's see if there are any questions we want to take before we stop. Okay. So before we stop, I want to leave you with a note of hope, because I've mentioned here that some things can be changed, some things can't be changed and all that, right? So I want to leave you with this note of hope. The note of hope is this one. Sorry. Okay. This nice verse. Let me just read this verse for you. Atai damsi samido agnir bhashma sat kurute arjuna jnanagni sarva karmani bhashma sat kurute tatha. This is from the Bhagavad Gita 437. As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all karmic reactions. So therefore, Krishna is telling it is possible for us to destroy all karma, because karma is not eternal. It can be destroyed. Every single karma can be cleared, possible in one lifetime. And then how to do that? So here we have a verse from the Padma Purana. The aprarabdha karma, kutta karma, bija karma, and prarabdha karma can all be destroyed through bhakti to Vishnu. So this is the statement of Padma Purana. So by performing devotional service of bhakti yoga, we can not only destroy our previous karma, our entire baggage of our previous karma, we can destroy even the current karma in this life also. We can change even our destiny and our fate in this life. It says here, right? Aprarabdha, kutta, bija, and also prarabdha. Prarabdha is what we have got now. And even the bija, the desire, this also can be destroyed, all through bhakti to Vishnu. So that is the conclusion of scripture, and we will talk about that in more detail in our next session. So with that, I'd like to leave all of you with a note of hope here. So if there are no further questions, I don't see anything in the chat. And if anyone wants to say something, they can say now. Otherwise, we can stop. All right. So it looks like there are no questions. So that's fine. If at all you think of any questions later on, if there are any points that you'd like to raise, feel free to put it in the chat, in the WhatsApp, and we can discuss also in the next session. So with that, thank you so much for attending this session. I hope that we can take advantage of this knowledge, and in this way, it will give us further impetus for us to perform bhakti and chant the holy names of the Lord. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. I'd like to end by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So let us just chant the Maha Mantra. I'll put it here. Okay. Just a moment. Okay. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we hope you go on chanting like this. So I'll see you all again next session. Hari Bol.